Good afternoon, folks. This is Robert Chappell, Executive Editor of Madison365 with your daily update for Wednesday, right? It's Wednesday, January 20th, Inauguration Day. I'm curious how many of you watched the inauguration festivities or any or all of it, and what you thought of it. I think it was, strikingly normal, other than the fact that there was really not very many people there. This very small crowd was obviously pandemic precaution. There was obviously also significant security presence, obviously, based on the insurrection of 2 weeks ago. But there were no incidents that I'm aware of. It's also interesting to note that there was some concern about protest actions or insurrection type actions in state capitals like Madison or like other states that were sort of closely contested in the election. And there was nothing happened on Sunday the way people thought was going to happen. Nothing happened today. There might have been a few, just for protesters exercising their rights to march and hold signs and whatever they wanted to do, but there was no violence at all. It strikes me that the wind is out of the sails of that movement. Once it peaked on the 6th, it was roundly denounced, and then Trump, their dear leader, actually disavowed it, and their organizing tools were taken away. Like a lot of that stuff was organized through Facebook groups, through Twitter, and through Parler. And the tools that they have left, Telegram and Gab and stuff, just aren't good tools for organizing on any scale. Right? There might be still small groups of people who are like of a militia mindset who are might try to cause some disruption, but there's no ability really to organize at any scale. So that's good news that it didn't happen. And I apologize. I have to pause for a moment because I forgot to do this, and talk about our sponsor of the update today. Forward Theater Company is bringing you the update today, presenting The Niceties, a play by Eleanor Burgess, a drama featuring clashing perspectives on race, history, and power in America. This virtual theater experience is streaming online January 22nd through February 7th, and you can get your tickets now at forwardtheater.com. And we appreciate the support from Forward Theater Company. Now onto the actual inaugural ceremonies and festivities itself. As I mentioned, it was a tight ship. It was well produced. It was obviously rehearsed and really pretty normal, which is reassuring. President Biden, in his address, talks, as expected, talked a lot about unity, ending this uncivil war, as he called it. I didn't really recognize. I'll have to go back and watch it again, but I didn't recognize any particularly super quotable lines. There was no "ask not what your country can do for you" line in it, but there's also no "American carnage" line in it, right? But that's typical of his speaking style. He's not that kind of word. And for that matter, the 44th president, Barack Obama, didn't speak in quotable quips like that. He was a great orator, but didn't have those little quotable nuggets all the time. But the tone was sort of turning a page. It was interesting as a journalist. It's to note in the speech that truth is important. That's one of those things that you never thought a president would have to say. You've been lied to. It's time to focus on truth. Truth is important. That obviously is true. And it's obviously something that needs to be said, but it's weird that it needs to be said, right? But as a person whose job is to seek the truth and report it, it was nice to hear. And I appreciated that he didn't talk a lot about the previous president, but he kind of talked about the place we're in right now, which is because of that previous president and what he wants to do to kind of turn the page. I thought if you watch the sort of the gift exchange that normally isn't really on TV, I don't think I've ever seen that really televised. The whole where they go into the Capitol and the leaders of Congress give them a vase, weirdly, and a flag and some artwork. And it happens all the time. I don't recall seeing it on televised, but maybe I just was not watching. But the tone was very collegial. Mitch McConnell was very welcoming and gracious. Even Kevin McCarthy, the minority leader of the House of Representatives, was very conciliatory and respectful and gracious, which is weird because 2 weeks ago he voted several times not to accept the results of the election. So funny how people change their minds about these things. The parade was the abbreviated sort of parade from over to the White House. It was really cool to see an HBCU band, a drumline rather, in that. Kamala Harris, who by the way was sworn in by Sonia Sotomayor, the first woman of color on the Supreme Court. She's a graduate of Howard. She's an alpha, and so it was kind of fun to see that as part of to see that drumline as part of the parade. Yeah, you know what Corey mentions while watching it, kind of enjoying it, but also like half expecting something horrible to happen. As I kind of said, and this is I was talking with some other friends of mine earlier about this, that there's not going to be a big thousands of people insurrection again, just because it's impossible to organize that without the social media tools. It is definitely possible that there would be a targeted attack of some kind by a small group of people. So that was definitely a concern. Now they had so much security though that it was obviously would have been very difficult to pull that off, but not impossible. So I was definitely like enjoying the moment, but also bracing for something bad to happen, just like you were, Corey. Okay, so let's and any further thoughts or about that? Now, since the inauguration has happened, the president has begun signing those executive orders that he promised about. He's rescinding the Muslim travel ban. He's getting us back into the good graces of the World Health Organization. He's getting us back into the Paris Climate Accord. All those executive orders, if they haven't been signed yet, they will be signed today. 3 new senators have been sworn in. Vice President Harris, just within the last half hour or so, has sworn in Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff from Georgia. So the Democratic Party now officially has control of both houses of the legislature. So, and the other thing I'll mention, if you missed it, go find Amanda Gorman's reading. It has not always happened. It's only happened like 6 times, I guess, that a president has gotten a poet to write something and read it at the inaugural ceremony. The first one was John Kennedy, who had Robert Frost read, and then Bill Clinton had Maya Angelou write something and read it. And today it was the youth poet laureate, Amanda Gorman, who's 22 years old and just killed it. Like, it was incredible. I'm not even going to try to like talk you through what it said. You have to hear it or read it, find it. Do yourself a favor, Google the video. It was absolutely incredible. Very young, black woman with such poise and a real, I don't know, just a real grasp of the power of language and words. It was great. So go give that a listen if you can. All right, let's get to the news today. The coronavirus numbers today in Wisconsin are strikingly similar to yesterday's. More tests today, which is good. 6,500 tests processed or reported today, rather. 1,522 new cases. 1,525 new cases yesterday. So remarkably similar. So for the day, you have more tests, the same number of cases. That means the percentage for the day is lower. 23% of the tests reported today were positive. And then once you attribute those and assign those to the days they actually happened, the 7-day averages continue to drop. The 7-day average of all people testing positive, went down again by a full percentage point. So what we're looking at today is over the past 7 days, 22.9% of people tested positive. That's still pretty high, but it's a full point lower than yesterday, which is great. When you look at all tests, taking into account that many people are tested multiple times in a week, 7.2% of all tests were positive. That's down from 7.4 yesterday, and it is the lowest we've ever seen since the state has been reporting that number, which it started to do back in October. Now, the bad news is we did report 50 more fatalities today. So our death toll now is 5,562. It feels like that'll hit 6,000 within the next, I don't know, a couple weeks. By the end of January, maybe, depending on how reporting gets done. Our 7-day average of deaths now is up to 45, which is not great. That was back down below 30 not too long ago. The 30-day average of deaths is 38, so that's a little better. But we're kind of, some of these deaths being reported are kind of a catch up. A catch up in reporting, I should say, that maybe a lot of these weren't getting. There was clearly a delay, especially in Milwaukee County, a delay in reporting some fatalities from December and early January. So we're still catching up on those. So we're not seeing necessarily the actual number of deaths happening right now. These are still kind of from weeks past. So we hope that will continue to go down as we continue to get caught up. Now, one thing I wanted to show you real quick here, if I can, Dane County has a new data dashboard, and we were actually enlisted to help them design this. Not really design it, but they showed us, because we're one of the few news outlets that actually is digging into this thing every day. They got on a Zoom with us maybe 3 weeks ago to say, this is what our new dashboard is going to look like. What do you think? And we offered some feedback. So, but they just are rolling it out now. So I'll just show you what this looks like. This is, if you go to, I'll give you the URL is publichealthmdc.com/coronavirus/dashboard. And it gives you the, the big top line numbers, like how many new cases today. Dane County, really low, only 22 new cases in Dane County. How many people currently hospitalized, and how many people have died. And it'll give you just a general sense as to the 2-week trend of, are we going in the right direction or not, right? Now, somebody asked the other day about percentage of positives. This is going to be right here. It's super easy to look at. We're at 4.9% for the past 2 weeks. We're at 4.4% for the past week. Now, this is the statewide number that's now 7.2, right? So we know that Dane County is ahead of the rest of the state when it comes to percentage of positive tests, which has always been the case, frankly. This is the number we want to get. I really want this to be below 3. Dane County saying 5% may mean that we have enough testing to identify the people who are positive, etc. I would rather it be 3, but 4, not bad, right? So anyway, I would commend that to you. I think it's a good dashboard. It seems like it's really easy to use, really easy to, whichever number you're looking for, it should be easier to find than it has been in the past, which is great. So that is, I think that's pretty much the coronavirus news. We have a ton of quite a few other news stories that I want to run by you and just get you up to speed on a few things. So stay with us. I'll be right back in about 20 seconds. Okay, we are back now. We've got a handful of news stories on the site today, Madison365.org, for all your headlines and what's happening in the community around Madison, around Wisconsin. A few things I'll just mention. There are 20 people on the common council in Madison, right? And right now, there are 21 people of color running to be on that council. It's wild, the number of people of color who are running for local office right now. That's just for the Madison Common Council. If you look all around Dane County and include school boards and county board and like the other city councils around, around Dane County, you're looking at like 34 people who are, people of color who are running either for the first time or in some cases who are incumbents or who are running, for different things. But Brian Benford, who's a former alder, who's running for District 6 in Madison right now. You can see him in the upper, I don't know if you can see this, the upper left-hand corner here. He actually convened like an online Zoom meeting just for all those candidates of color to be like, look at all these people who are running for local office. Because frankly, you want to talk about like really substantively changing this country, this is where it starts. Your local common council, you may not even know who your local council representative is, wherever you are, but you should, because these people have more impact on your day-to-day life than the president does. We'll just be real about that. Okay? So these are people you should know. We are working our way through this list of people. We've already profiled several of them just to get you to know them and where they come from, where their platform, so that you can be a more informed voter, especially if you're in Madison or in one of these districts. But it was a really interesting conversation. And if you go to Madison365.org right now, Malik Anderson actually sat in on the session and reported on it for us. So he's got a good sense of kind of the tone of the thing. But there's also a link. It's a 90-minute video. You can watch the whole thing right now if you want to. It's really fascinating. So take a look at that when you can. Speaking of those, I mentioned we have profiled a lot of these folks. This is Veronica Figueroa Velez, who I have interviewed several times in her capacity as the executive director of Unidos Against Domestic Violence. It's a nonprofit that, as the name suggests, works with survivors of domestic violence, sex trafficking, that kind of thing. A very important organization here in town. It's one of the 2 major agencies that handles those issues and really saves the lives of women and children by getting them out of dangerous situations. And but they also advocate on behalf of those survivors for legal changes and things. So, but she's running for common council to represent the North Side. So Malik spoke with her. And has a nice profile of her and her platform up on the site right now. Also today, I'm a soccer guy. I'm a Forward Madison guy. So this is exciting to hear that Jovan Chavez, who is the Latino outreach director at Forward Madison, has been named to the 8-member Impact Committee for the United Soccer League, which is United Soccer League is a USL. Forward Madison competes in USL League One, which is the lower division, and then the USL Championship is the upper division. There's like almost 50 professional football teams, soccer teams in the league USL, and they put together this committee to basically to work on how soccer in the United States can be a force for social justice and for social good. USL has been even more, I think, proactive in working against racism and for the sort of Black Lives Matter movement than upper leagues, than MLS or other upper soccer leagues. So it's really cool to see Madison represented on that committee. Jovan Chavez, I got a chance to interview him when he was first hired as the Latino Outreach Director. He's a pretty cool guy, and I suggest you take a look at that story when you get a minute. Finally today, Hip Hop Architecture Camp you might have heard about. It's been around for about 4 years now. Michael Ford is the hip hop architect. He brings that sort of hip hop aesthetic and philosophy to urban design, and he runs this camp every summer. And it started as a 3-week thing in Madison over a summer of 2016, and it has become an international thing. Like, he's running camps in Atlanta, in Orlando, in Los Angeles, in London, all over the place. And now for the first time, he's taken that camp and translated it into internships. So we've got 15 kids who went through a virtual camp earlier this year, or rather in 2020, not this year, but 2020, and then signed on for like a month-long internship with the actual design firm somewhere in the United States. These aren't all in Madison. This design that you're looking at here is by Elias Edwards, who's a teenager from Madison, but most of the interns were from elsewhere around the country. And this is the hip hop center that he designed. This is a place that he envisions teenagers and young people, young adults, to come and practice arts and learn and practice entrepreneurship and become an incubator for careers. Lots of different kinds of designs took place in these internships. Our Fatimata Cisse spoke with Elijah, spoke with Michael Ford, and has a very nice story on that, on those internships today. Oh, finally, one more thing. Matthew Brongan today has his new episode of Finding the Warmth of Our Sun. I think it's very interesting. If you're interested in police matters, there's a push for body cameras and policing. And Matthew makes a very compelling case that body cameras are a bad idea because they don't do what you think you're going to, what you want them to do. They don't actually increase accountability for the police. They don't actually reduce police violence. So he's got on our YouTube channel and anywhere you get a podcast, anywhere you can find your podcast, just search for Finding the Warmth of Our Sun, or just at Madison365.org. Right now, you've got the video or the audio right there for you to listen to maybe a different perspective on body cameras for police. All right, that is the news for today. I appreciate you staying with me and taking a break from the national news to get a little bit local. And I hope you enjoy your evening. And I'll be back tomorrow with another update. Stay safe until then.
This is 365 Media.